Hello and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and this is the opposition view video ahead of our home trip against Manchester United this weekend. I'm joined by Jay from the Stretford Paddock. How you doing, Jay?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. Not too bad.
Yeah, like I say, it's not really been too long, to be honest, since the last time our two sides met in the grand scheme of things. But quite a bit has changed. I think it's fair to say. I think I'm right in saying that was Amorim's first home game in charge. I think. Uh,
Yeah, it does. It feels like it might have been. Yeah,
yeah,
to be honest with you, it feels like a different season that because it
yeah,
was a season, a game where we scored some goals and it was a relatively comfortable win, which doesn't feel like it belongs in this era. So
yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. It was very early on in his tenure because um, yeah, like you said, it was a decent win, and obviously if you look at the players that took part, one of them was Marcus Rashford, who's now at Aston Villa.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I completely agree. It feels like a very different time for both our clubs, to be fair. Um, so um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, you've kind of just touched on it there a little bit. I guess it's in the months since what's really been going on really because yeah, it's definitely not a happy place to be at the moment, really, Manchester United, is it?
No, it isn't. And I think, after that game, if you'd have said to me by the time the two sides meet, we'd be below you in the table and we'd be, going through a horrible spell and you'd be rejuvenated with David Moyes in the dugout, I'd have probably laughed at you, but that's where we're at. And think in terms of just focusing on what's gone wrong at United, it's almost everything has. We've stopped scoring goals. We've had injuries to key players. You look at some of the injuries we've had to the likes of Lisandro Martinez, Ahmad, who you will remember from that day, was had played a hand in I think practically all the goals that day. He was fantastic. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Marcus Rashford, who's sort of fell out with the manager, he's been moved on. It's been difficult. It really has, and you can see that this manager is sticking to his guns. He's sticking to his formation, his tactics, but it's not really working. And I'm not saying he should change his ways because I think this is the whole thing of the reason he was brought in, and long term he's looking at it. He wants these players to sort of get what he's trying to do. So I understand all that, but I think at the minute it's just been there's been a lot of issues, to be honest with you, a lot of issues.
Mm. And yeah, I guess on the manager, I think it's fair to say, especially from a neutral perspective, that I'd like to think a lot of United fans probably recognise that the issue kind of goes beyond him really, and it's not all the fault doesn't all lay at his door too much. Do you think it does it feel like there's a turning point round the corner, or is it literally just a case of almost seeing this season out really and maybe rebuilding in the summer?
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like seeing this season out. The only difference with that is, or the only reason that there's still something to fight for this season. I think the league. I mean, look, I get it is important because the higher up the table you finish, the more money you get to spend next season. So even finishing, say, 30th compared to 40th can make a difference because that might be the difference between going out and buying a player and not buying a player. So although as a fan you're not like, oh, let's get the bunting out, we finished one place higher in mid-table, it can still have that sort of knock-on effect. But the reason I think there was still a lot to play for this season is because of the trophies that were in the cup competitions. We've got the FA Cup, where we've got a game against Fulham at home in the next round, and then we've got the Europa League. Now, obviously, the Europa League, not only is it a European trophy, which everyone wants to win. Well, I say everyone wants to win the Europa League. Everyone wants to win a European trophy, I should say. Not everyone is sort of geared towards the Europa League, but you're in it, you want to win it. But also, it's Champions League football. So if Manchester United were to win the Europa League, win that trophy in itself would be a massive achievement. But then getting into the Champions League, which would help with revenue and plus you're in Europe's top competition, then that's huge. So there's still a lot to play for. But in terms of the league, it's a bit deflating because it's hard to sort of get yourself up for these games when you think if United win, we could go up to 14th or whatever. I mean, as a United fan, this is unheard of. Even in our sort of post-Fergie darkest days, we were never kicking around the bottom half of the table like we are now. It's been an absolutely awful season.
Yeah, it is bizarre. Like I say, I mean, from a neutral perspective, especially for my generation growing up, United were the team, and it's pretty crazy just the situation you guys find yourselves in at the moment. Um, but like you said, I mean, you talk about cup competitions. I mean, it's mad to think that given how poor the club have been in the last few years, but you've won a trophy in the last 2 seasons, haven't you? You had the League Cup a couple of years ago and the FA Cup last season. So three trophies on the trot in consecutive seasons would be pretty crazy to be fair. So I can definitely see why that's still sticking in the back of your minds as a little bit of a saving grace. And obviously I remember the sentiment this summer was a little bit with Jim Ratcliffe going in that maybe this was going to be the start of something new and getting back United back up to the top again. And I imagine the mood's a little different now, and obviously it's not been a great start to Ratcliffe's tenure. What's the general mood around the club as a whole at the moment?
I think there's a lot of negativities you'd expect. Some of the decisions that Ineos have made seem a little bit, I don't know, they don't seem to be geared towards having the massive effect that you'd want them to. So they seem a bit pointless and counterproductive almost, and very unpopular. You look when I'm talking about these decisions, I mean decisions like cutting the Christmas bonus for staff from like £100 to £40 Marks and Spencer's voucher, cutting out bonuses for the steward employer of the month or whatever it was, cutting out free travel to the cup final for the staff, cutting staff numbers. I get that cutting the staff might be necessary in terms of trying to save money and stuff, but it's not. Two things can be true. It can be something that you might deem necessary, and it can still be unpopular and not look great. So, it, from a sort of PR perspective, I don't think Ineos have covered themselves in glory. They would probably argue, and I don't know, but it would make sense to me that these are the tough decisions you have to make if you are going to move Manchester United forward. And I've made the case myself that if I was to sort of sympathise with them as such, because I've been quite critical of Ineos with some of these decisions. I get the idea that if you don't, or if you repeat the same mistakes off the pitch, you're going to get the same results on the pitch. I understand all that. I just feel that when you look at it and you're going, cutting the Christmas bonus, cutting free travel, how much is that saving? It's not, it doesn't seem to be having a huge effect. So, in answer to your question, I think Ineos have maybe been a little bit underwhelming for a lot of fans, but there is that slight feeling in the back of my mind that, okay, they've got to change things. These are some of the changes. I might not like them, but, and it's a big but, if United end up being successful in doing Ineos, we'll look back and we'll go, okay, they were probably right to do the things they did.
Mm. Yeah, and like I said, I think something else concerning really is that a lot of those things you've just mentioned I knew about and that neutral fans know about because it's getting out and it's being reported in national media. So there's clearly I know there's been quite a bit made recently about the leaking around Manchester United at the moment, but yeah, that's clearly down to a feeling of disgruntlement, isn't it? Because it must be employers really that are sharing this news, this negative news, and as you say, from a PR perspective, it's a bit of a disaster, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, like I say, that
I
that
think
that
I think to be fair, I think like obviously as soon as you cut anything, it's public knowledge. So as soon as you cut staff, obviously everyone knows about that. As soon as you cut a bonus or cut, I know you can argue with the bonus front. That is someone telling the media. I don't think Ineos has said, well, hey, we've cut Christmas bonuses. But the Ineos have to be aware that as soon as they make these decisions, it's going to be in the public domain. Everyone's going to find out about it. I think the only justification you can have is you can say, look, we have made these tough, unpopular decisions, but at the end of it all, Manchester United has become the sort of club it should be, or it used to be. But at the minute, it feels like a lot of short-term pain for not any gain, really.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it is definitely permeating onto the pitch things, and so yeah, moving on to that. I mean, like you say, it is kind of as you say. I imagine for you guys at the moment, it is kind of just one game at a time, really, and almost just trying to get this league season over with. But in terms of Everton, I mean, in the last few years, you guys seem to just have a really good record against us somehow. You know, even though you've mostly been struggling, but we've been struggling too, and it always seems to we always seem to get punished at United at the moment. So is this a fixture that I don't really know. Are you guys kind of looking forward to playing us a little bit, or with the turnaround a little bit under Moyes at the moment? Is it kind of a fixture you guys are dreading a little?
I mean, I'm dreading almost every game in a minute, to be honest with you. Um, Look at the results we've had and the performances we've had. Even teams that are struggling, I mean, Southampton are one of the worst teams in Premier League history, and we only just got a result there. I know you might look at it and go, it's 3-1, but Southampton played us off the park for about an hour, and it was almost like Ahmad just decided to win us the game on his own at the end, and obviously he's injured. Um, Going back to what you said about historically or more recently, we have got a good record against Everton. We have, but it wasn't that long ago that we had a couple of bad results at Goodison. I think there was a 4-0. There might have been a couple of 4-0s I think we've had in the past there. So when we've not been at it and we've gone to Goodison, we've struggled. And one of the better results, as you mentioned, this season was against Everton, but a lot of the players that played a key part in that game are not available or not even at the club anymore, or some of them aren't. So it is going to be difficult. I look at the way Everton are playing. I look at the bounce you've had under David Moyes. Look at the fact that Beto looks like he's banging in the goals, and he looks like a player that's just been absolutely rejuvenated under the new manager. And I look at the fact that we are struggling. We're struggling to score goals in particular, and I fear it's going to be a difficult afternoon. I really do.
Yeah, like I say, you caught us in a very bad place when you played us at the start of December, and then obviously just a few weeks after everything changed, and Dyche was sacked, and David Moyes, who of course your fans will know all about, came back in. Yeah, from the outside looking in, what did you make of that decision? Because I know it attracted a lot of public scrutiny at the time when we pulled the trigger on Dyche, and obviously bringing back Moyes in after 12 years. What were your thoughts on it at the time?
I was a bit surprised, if I'm being honest. I thought Sean Dyche was a pretty safe pair of hands. I didn't think that. I know you should have, I don't blame Everton fans for having ambitions higher than just surviving in the Premier League. Everton is obviously a huge club and a great history, so I understand the idea that you want to do more than that. But I just thought at least Dyche will do that. He'll keep you in the Premier League. I don't think there was any, for me, you might disagree, but I didn't think there was any real danger of you going down. But you can't argue with a club wanting a bit more than that. Moyes obviously spent a decade at Goodison, got the United job off the back of what he did at Everton, so you can get how successful he'd been there. I know he didn't win anything, but he'd certainly maintained a high standard at Everton. And since he's gone back there, the results speak for themselves. He seems to have got the place bouncing again. Obviously, a big result against Liverpool, and I think so far it looks like the club made the right decision. And I think David Moyes is someone that has a very good. He has a very good Premier League record. David Moyes. He shouldn't be tainted with what happened at United, because what happened at United was it was a sort of a comedy of errors with that appointment. No disrespect to him, but he came into a club that's bigger than Everton. He just is, and he wasn't used to that. He'd never won anything really. He didn't have that pedigree that perhaps you need to take over at a club like Manchester United. Some of the players, well, nearly all the players there just spent, all the time at United working under Sir Alex Ferguson. Plus, we got rid of, or David Gill left at the same time. So you had Ed Woodward came in. We botched the transfer window. We were linked with the likes of Tony Cruz and Gareth Bale and Cesc Fabregas. We ended up getting Marouane Fellaini after, paying more than his buyout clause. And I actually like Fellaini, but let's not pretend he's in the same class as the other players I just mentioned. So it was just the wrong appointment at the wrong time, really. But I think what he's done at West Ham in particular, and what he did at Everton in the first place, has been very positive. And I think, yeah, he's a good manager, and he knows that club, and he's got it going again. And it worries me a bit. I think we're going into this game with two teams: one team which is struggling, has lost confidence, can't score goals, and another team that looks like it's got its mojo back.
Yeah, that's it. And obviously, I think we kind of both have our struggles with injuries at the moment. I think both games on the weekend, we our benches were pretty much both filled with youngsters. I'm not entirely sure whereabouts some of your players are coming back, but is it likely to be a similar team that played against Tottenham on the weekend, do you think?
I'm not sure, and I think we're waiting to hear what the exact nature of it is. Some of the players that were injured, I think, had an illness. So I think maybe Lenny Yoro and Christian Eriksen. No, Christian Eriksen doesn't always start. They should be fine. I'm not sure what the script is with Manuel Ugarte as well. I think Kobe Mainoo's out for at least 6 weeks. I think he's not going to be back till after the March international break or whatever that is. And then obviously we know that Ahmad's out for the season, so he's not going to be back anytime soon. Plus Martinez, we already know he's out for the season. So I do think there's going to be more experience in the squad this weekend. I don't expect the bench to be quite what it was against Spurs. I think the average age was 19.3 years or something for the subs bench, which says it a lot. There's only Victor Lindelof who actually played any competitive first team minutes for United at the time. So I think we'll have a little bit more to choose from, but not, we're still going to be missing key players. Mainu, Ahmad, and Martinez are three of our best players, and none of them are going to be available.
Yeah, yeah, like I say, it's got to be said. I look at the United team now and compared to teams in years gone by, there's, I mean, I look at Bruno Fernandes on his day, I know can be a real handful, but I say I'm probably tempting fate based on the head of the match, but there's no one in that team that really worries me too much. It's got to be said. So like, I don't know. Is there anyone in your mind that you think could have a good game on Saturday?
I don't think there's anything wrong with what you said there because I think United fans have been saying this for a little while now. We've become a bit toothless. I mean, Bruno, as you mentioned, he's always capable of getting a goal on an assist. Bruno Fernandes, even though he's not having one of his best seasons, he's still on his day. He's one of those players that can create something out of nothing. Can always um, help influence a game and help get you a goal or whatever. So I'm certainly I'm certainly looking at him now with the players that are missing and hoping that he could be the guy that unlocks the Everton defence. Obviously, we saw it at the game at Old Trafford. Joshua Zirkzee, who's not exactly been prolific, but he got a couple of goals against you. So could he have a say in this game? Just maybe that gives him a little bit more confidence going into it, knowing that he's already bagged a couple of goals against Everton. But we've been struggling. We have. I mean, I think away from home, our top scorers in the Premier League are Ahmad, Rashford, and Lisandro Martinez, and none of those three players will be available. So, and that says it a lot, doesn't it? I think Martinez has got 2 goals, so and he's up there in like the third highest scorer away from Old Trafford in the Premier League. So, it just shows you the problems we've had and the problems we're still having, and the difficulty that Ruben Amorim faces in trying to turn his team around.
Mm. Well, one bit of good news for you is that in pretty much any of these videos I've done this season, whenever I ask who you're most worried about from our side of things, pretty much the answer is almost always Element and Die, and he's not going to be available. He picks up an injury against Liverpool, so he's out for a few weeks now, I think, so he won't be playing. So. In terms of the rest of the Everton side, is there anyone there that you're particularly worried about on the weekend? I know you mentioned Beto suddenly hitting a bit of form. Are there any other names alongside his maybe?
Um, I think Beto is the one that I've 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 only seen him a couple of times recently, but he certainly looks the part, and he seems to be scoring. Or he seems to have scored a few different types of goals, if you will. It's not just one type of finish. So he's someone that has has impressed me. Um, I mean, I watched the Liverpool game, and I think it was more like, even though obviously you got Tarkowski got the late goal, and there was a couple of other performances there. I felt just as the team on a whole seemed to be all sort of working together well, fighting for each other, battling. It was a real sort of long busting performance from everyone, and they could see there's a unity there that David Moyes has instilled into the team, and that worries me because that's probably what's been missing at United a lot. Don't get me wrong, we've had some good results. We've won at the Etihad, we've won at the Emirates, we've drawn at Anfield, but at times we've looked like a team that's just sort of been cobbled together. Where when I did watch Everton the other week, they looked like a team that were in it together and fighting for one another, and they've obviously got players who can physically as well cause you problems. Like Decore, he can be a handful. And at times we've been a little bit weak as well. So yeah, it's rather than sort of pinpointing individuals, I think I just look at Everton as a team on the whole that are all fighting for one another and all seems to be up for it against the United team that seem anything but.
So yeah, I basically I agree with what you're saying really, and I think something Moyes has done since coming in is he's instilled a real self belief among the team, and kind of got the players believing that on our day we can beat anybody. So I think that will definitely instill some confidence going into the weekend. So yeah, have you got a score prediction for me at all? I think the confidence doesn't seem very high at the moment. I'll be honest, but yeah, what are you thinking ahead of Saturday?
I don't feel confident at all, to be honest with you, Alex. I'm not going to pretend to you that I do. Um, and I take no pleasure in saying this, but I just think we'll lose. I think you'll win. I don't think there'll be a lot of goals in it. I think maybe 2-1 to Everton, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, so yeah, be a bit of a flat final game at Goodison Park then for Manchester United.
Yeah, unfortunately. I hope I'm
Yeah,
wrong, obviously, but it's
yeah,
just where we're at in a minute. You guys look like you're up for it, and we don't.
yeah, fair enough. So yeah, so I don't really want to bring up any two more bad memories for you, but we are going to quickly do a lineup quiz if that's okay, and
Of course, it is.
it's for a game that David Moyes won't have too many fond memories for. His final game in charge of Manchester United back in
Oh, yes, the
2014.
2-0. Was it
Two,
2-0?
it was 2-0 win for Everton, yeah, at
Yeah.
Goodison Park. So this is the 2013-14 season. And yeah, just want to say how many of the players in the lineup you could name whenever you're ready.
So, obviously, goal would have been De Gea, surely.
Yep.
Um, I'm thinking um, sort of when players left and when they were still there. So, would the back four have been, I mean, would it maybe be Evervidic? I think they were still there. Maybe Jones, Raphael.
Um,
Um,
I can tell you one out of those four are right. Um,
really, out of about
yeah,
four.
they I think they were.
It was Smalling.
I
Chris
believe they were
Smalling played
still
that game.
there. Chris Smalling played. Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
So okay, Chris Smalling. Johnny Evans, did he play?
yep. Johnny Evans. The
Right. Okay.
left
Chris
back's a bit
Smalling,
of a
Johnny Evans.
toughie.
Left back would have been. Trying to think. I should know this. Wasn't Fabio de Silva, was it?
No.
Um, left back. Left back. Are you doing the left back at the last game last season? Right, I'm trying to think now. And it wasn't Evra at that time.
Yeah.
And it obviously wasn't Butler. I think he'd gone by then. Left back, wasn't O'Shea, was it? No, he'd have gone
No.
by then as well. Um, left back.
It's one of those ones, because you've already said it. It was Butner. I had in
Oh,
my head
was it?
I had in my head he'd gone by then as well. Funnily enough, because I was
Right. Okay. Well, that's no wonder we. I mean, no disrespect to the kid, but no wonder we struggled.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's the back four. Okay.
yeah.
Jesus wept. In midfield, I've sort of put this fixture out of my memory. I'm going to go. Was Fellaini playing that game? Sure,
Fellaini was
against
on the
his old club.
bench.
Oh God! Oh God! They cleverly played that game.
Uh, no involvement from him
No,
at all.
no
Not even
Tom
on the bench.
Cleverly.
No.
Was Carrick there?
Yeah, Carrick started. Yeah,
Um, right, okay.
someone who used to
Trying to
score
think.
against us a lot was next to him. I don't know if that's a clue at all.
Someone used to score against Everton quite a lot. It wasn't Anderson, was it?
No,
Not that he used to score quite a lot
no.
against it. Not Fletcher would have been, I think, done by then as well. Um, Jesus, well, he used to score against Everton quite a lot. Honestly, I'll try and name some other players and I'll fill in the blanks.
Okay.
Who else played? So did Rooney play?
Yeah, Rooney started. Yeah.
Did Van Persie play in this game?
Nope, not on the bench either.
Hernandez?
Hernandez was on the bench,
Jesus Christ. Danny Welbeck?
also on the bench. So you got most of the
Did
bench now.
Valencia play?
Valencia was on the bench.
Bloody, I'm naming the bench here.
Yeah,
Um, I'm trying to think. Oh, did Juan Mata play?
yeah. One might have started. Yeah,
Um, trying to think who else would have been around that final season. Yeah, this is my mind. Nani wouldn't have played then, did he?
Nani started. Yeah, on the left
Yeah.
wing.
So how many am I missing now?
So you just need the attacking midfielder and the centre mid next to Carrick. And I'll tell you now. You've said the centre mid. The another one you've said
Olava.
you thought he was already gone.
Was it
Uh,
Fletcher?
yeah, Darren Fletcher. Yeah.
Right, okay. So Darren Fletcher and then the attacking midfielder who used to love a goal against
No,
Everton.
no, no, no. Sorry, that was
Um,
Fletcher. Fletcher used
oh,
to get.
sorry. Of course
Flet-
it was. Of
yeah,
course it
used to
was.
get quite a few against us.
And the attacking midfielder. Obviously, do you know what? It'd be too early. It was too early for a lot of players. I keep thinking of players that it was too soon. Oh, was Januzaj in there?
Januzaj was on the bench. I think you've got all of them
Have I?
now.
I've named the entire bench.
Oh no, you've missed one on the bench, but
Um, Let me just think. Can you give me a clue onto this last player? What nationality was it? Was he?
he was Asian. I'll give you the
Oh,
continent.
it was. Um, well, Jason Park would have been around then, wouldn't he? Was it?
It wasn't him. No, no.
Oh, Shinji Kagawa.
Shinji Kagawa. Yeah. So
Right. Okay.
so yeah. So it was
Yeah.
just
From when you said
gigs.
that consonant, I knew there was only
Yeah.
a couple of
So
players that
just
was
gigs that
that
you missed on
represented
the
United.
bench, and he was just about to
Right.
become
Okay.
the caretaker, wasn't he? Of course, once Moss
Yeah.
was
Of
gone.
course. Yeah. That was it.
So yeah. So yeah, that was not exactly the most fun
Got
trip
there in
down
the
memory
end.
lane for you there,
I'm not
but
going to lie to you. I sort of erased that from my memory, but
yeah, I
yeah, it was
don't blame
difficult
you to
because
be
that
fair.
season wasn't exactly one that I remember with fondness.
Yeah. So just to continue the theme, I'll put you out of your misery now. It's the last thing I'm going to ask you now. So that when we had you on the channel before, we did your Mount Rushmore of the four main figures in Manchester United's history. So Matt Busby,
Yeah.
Alex Ferguson, Eric Cantona, and Bobby Charlton. Now I'm going to ask you to
Yeah.
do the exact opposite. So the four figures that least epitomise Manchester United, the four worst figures that have ever been involved in your history. And don't put Moyes on there.
No, well, I wouldn't do that. I think I'd put Joel Glazer, Avram Glazer, Malcolm Glazer, and Edward Wood.
Perfect. Yeah, that I say we know all about not liking people in charge of the club.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. I
honestly,
could tell you what that mountain would be made out of as well, and it wouldn't be stone.
yeah, honestly, I really hope things turn around for you eventually because I genuinely do. It doesn't. United being in 15th doesn't work in my head at all. Really
No,
shouldn't be
I
the
hope you're
case.
right. I really do, Alex. And
Yeah,
you know, I'm gutted I'm not there tomorrow. I'm going to be in the studio, but Goodison is one of one of my favourite stadiums, old school stadium, and you're obviously moving on from there. So I wish you guys well in your big move, and it's good that you're going to be playing Premier League football in it as well. I think that's pretty safe to say.
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that, mate. Yeah. So yeah, we're all looking forward to it. Yeah. Only a few games left now. Goodison, it's crazy stuff. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me, mate. I know it's been a bit of a. It seems like it's been a bit of almost like a therapy session for you, really. But yeah, hopefully things turn around for you after Saturday. So yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Comment below giving your thoughts ahead of the match, and subscribe to the Toffee Boost channel for more Everton content. And we will see you in the next video. Up the Toffees.